Alright, so yesterday, March 2nd, we had Wanheng Menayothin of Thailand versus Go Odaira of Japan. And this was, I believe, an optional defense of Wanheng Menayothin's WBC strawweight title, minimum weight, aka mini flyweight, 105 pounds. Menayothin is one of the top fighters at that weight class. Of course, he has the WBC title, and he got to it real quick against Go Odaira. He came out with his educated pressure as he usually does, and started off the first round applying pressure, applying the jab, mixing up both to the head and the body, throwing the jab to the body and then the right hand to the head and the jab to the head and then the right hand to the body, mixing it up a little bit. Go Odaira is a little bit taller. He's about 5'3", 5'3" and a half. Wanheng Menayothin is only about 5'1", maybe 5'1" and a half. So he had a little bit of a height and a reach advantage, and he's also a southpaw. But in spite of that, Wanheng Menayothin was actually able to land his jab pretty regularly, which you don't often see a lot of times with orthodox fighters versus southpaws. And he was able to measure out the right hand very, very well. He was catching him pretty early and often with it. In the second round, Go Odaira managed to rally a little bit of a mini comeback. He was landing his left a little bit better. He was gauging the distance better, and he was usually using his length and reach better um, in a more proportional way to the way that a taller, longer reaching guy would like to use his advantage over somebody that's shorter and doesn't have the same abilities to close the distance. But Menayothin managed to adjust again in the third round, and he managed to even drop Go Odaira as he was trying to pivot off of the ropes. Menayothin had him pinned against the ropes. He was landing a couple good shots. Odaira looked to pivot off the ropes off to his right side, and Menayothin followed up and stepped in with him and threw a right hand that dropped Odaira. It didn't hurt him particularly badly. He was just momentarily stunned from getting dropped. And Menayothin looked to finish him off, but he didn't get overzealous about it. And Odaira managed to get through that round. The next round, the fourth, was a little bit more even, but Menayothin was applying even more pressure, and he was putting it on him, and he was looking to set up a stoppage against Go Odaira. He didn't manage to get it that round though. Odaira managed to survive into the fifth round, where Menayothin pretty much started really sitting down on his punches. It wasn't just about gauging distance and trying to score effective, snappy shots. He was trying to really put some muscle behind everything that he threw, and he managed to catch him with Go Odaira with several right hooking crosses as well as several right uppercuts that knocked him back into the ropes. And Odaira, being a little bit more hesitant to pivot the way he had been off the ropes since he had got caught that way before, pretty much just lingered in there a little too long, and Menayothin was pretty much able to eat him up, hit him with a good right uppercut, left hook, and then finally another right hand that landed close to behind the head. I mean, there was arguably it could have been potentially a rabbit punch, the final shot that finally dropped him the second time. But Odaira looked like he was going down anyway, and I mean, he had been taking enough punishment in the fifth round that the ref was pretty much engaged to stop it before that flurry even happened. Like, he looked like he was ready to stop it on the ropes, and so him just going down the way he did was pretty much the final straw. Odaira didn't make any protests against the stoppage either, so you could tell that he was rocked pretty badly. And I mean, this is another win for Menayothin. He's at 41-0 with 16 knockouts now, and he normally averages about 4 fights a year, even as a world champion, as his WBC championship since he received since a couple years ago. And possibly he may be rematching the guy that he won that title from, Oswaldo Novoa of Mexico, or he may be fighting the guy that's his number one contender next, Saul Baby Juarez. I know Saul Juarez actually fought Novoa recently, but their fight got called off in the first round due to a head clash that caused a nasty cut over Novoa's right eye. So it wound up getting called a technical decision, which is kind of unfortunate for Juarez because he looked like he was doing some pretty good work in that first round. But the first round, different adjustments can be made. Novoa may have been able to come back a lot stronger than he was shown in that first round and do some good work. But that head clash caused a pretty nasty cut. So Juarez may be next in line for Menayothin. You'd have to favor Menayothin in that fight, but Juarez is a pretty game guy. It's funny though because he's probably one of the shortest fighters even at 105. Like he looks like he barely makes it up to 5 feet tall even. So that'd be pretty a fairly interesting fight. For Menayothin though, there's several better challenges I would say. Unification with Hickey Butler, the WBA champion, would be excellent, or with the interim WBA champion knockout CP Freshman, who's also from Thailand, would be a great fight. And CP Freshman is all action. He's like a mini orthodox version of Pacquiao. A fight with the IBF champ Jose Argumedo would be excellent. Argumedo, incidentally, is one of the few guys that's beaten Saul Juarez, so that shows his quality. And a fight with Kosei Tanaka. Tanaka is probably the most true blue action fighter of all these guys at 105. He's all action. He manages to come from behind knockouts, one shot KOs and everything. But Menayothin did a great job. Um, other potential opponents is Cho Chao Chong of China, who was the first ever Chinese world champion, and he is actually the guy that lost to Novoa, and of course Novoa eventually lost to Menayothin, so he could potentially be in the running, and even maybe Katsunari Takayama, since he got dethroned by Argumedo himself, or there's other guys that may be around the weight class. Perhaps Menayothin, if he ever decides to move up to 108, he has plenty of challenges there. But he's doing a good job, and I mean, just the fact that he's 41-0, and since a lot of people like to make much ado about the whole 50-0 record of Rocky Marciano, Menayothin may be able to cross over a little bit better than some other fighters just by virtue of the fact that if he gets a little bit closer to that, within a couple years he may be up to 47, 48-0 possibly. So within maybe a 2-year span, he may be knocking on the door of that record. As controversial as it might be, just in general of considering that this amazing record to behold. But regardless, Menayothin did a good job. I'm looking forward to see what's in his future, and fights against any of the guys that I mentioned would be top priority in my opinion as a fan. If he fights any of those guys, it's going to be a must see fight. He goes in there, he pressures guys with a very educated style, and he does the damn thing. So that's it for this one.